All right. We're a bit late on the 8 ball this week, but we are going to do our main card breakdown for this UFC pay-per-view this weekend. Adesanya Vettori. We're going to start from the bottom up this time. We'll save the best for last. But yeah, let's get into it. Paul Craig and Jamal Hill is opening off our main event. Should be a pretty good fight. There's some things that I think will be interesting to see. Paul Craig, known mostly for his jiu-jitsu submissions, not really super lethal on the feet. He's got good kicks and he throws them a lot. Because I feel like not really worried about being taken down or anything. But yeah, he's more of a jiu-jitsu fighter, and that's where his finishes and he's most threatening. He's a big, tall, lanky guy. Yeah, that should be interesting to see how he plays out against Jamal Hill, who is a much quicker striker and he's more powerful with the hands. He will throw low kicks every now and then, but he's mostly a boxing-oriented approach. And he's got quick hands. He throws good hooks, nice straights. Heavy hitter. He's got nice kind of explosive footwork. We'll have to see how well he's able to hold off the takedowns of Craig, because he does shoot a nice low, like, double leg, a nice reactive one where he can catch people lacking. I think if Hill can keep it on the feet, I think it's gonna be a tough night for Paul Craig, and I think he's probably gonna get pieced up. The only thing I would say in that, though, is I have seen Jamal Hill struggle with getting low kicked because he has such a boxing heavy game. It's not necessarily in the same way how like a super jab heavy fighter will get messed up by low kicks, but it's still his because he doesn't really throw that many jabs, but he still his leg gets caught out there, and that I feel like that really showed in his last fight against OSP. I rewatched that, and OSP was hitting good low kicks that were really like affecting his stance and like shifting him and really causing him issues. I mean, ultimately Hill won, but I could see that being an issue as Paul Craig does throw a lot of kicks and he's pretty good at throwing the kicks. But I think if he doesn't really exploit that hole of the leg kicks and he struggles with getting it to the ground, I think he's gonna have a tough fight. But since he does have those like two routes, I think and he's the more experienced guy too out of the two fighters. Jamal Hill hasn't lost yet. He's got eight wins in his professional career. But yeah, that should be an interesting fight. I'm probably gonna roll with Hill on this one, but it's close, like a pick'em. I'd maybe like 55-45 to Hill, just because he's threatening. Like he could finish the fight with those hands, and Paul Craig struggles with people who are good strikers. It'll really just be a test on his takedown ability, or his ability to stop takedowns. I think that's what the fold of his game that we're gonna really see come out in this matchup. And for Paul Craig, I mean, he's evolved and thrown some new things into his game, but I think honestly, if he does do the things that he has shown to do at times, and just does them well, he exploits the holes that are there in the game, I think he could do it. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Hill handles the takedowns and how Craig handles the threat of the knockout or TKO with the hands of Hill. Yeah, that'll be a good one. It's moving on up. We got Damian Maya, Bilal. Remember the name Muhammad. This will be a pretty good scrap, in my opinion. We we all know what Maya wants to do. He's fights pretty similar in all of his fights. You know, he puts kind of this like spastic sort of like stiff old man pressure on the feet. But he has surprisingly, he's very I feel like he catches people lacking, thinking he's just this old stiff guy who just wants to like grapple with them. But he will catch people lacking with his punches, because he can throw a decent straight. He's not a super depthy or varied striker, but he has a couple things that he does and actually can do pretty well. And I mean, his jiu-jitsu and top pressure is just ridiculous. Like it's crazy how many finishes he's got in this pretty fucking stacked division, just on like those merits alone. You know, he's old and he's not super explosive. Definitely is vulnerable on his feet, but he still manages to get shit done. It's pretty fun to watch him do his thing, and then I think it'll be a fun scrap. He does struggle against people who have solid takedown defense, and like who can stop his takedowns, because he does shoot takedowns well and will chain well, like shoot in on double or a single and then run him back and actually get the takedown with a trip or something afterward. But if he's fighting someone in which I think Belal Muhammad is a pretty good wrestler and has pretty good wrestling ability, he struggles. Like within the, what was it? His last fight was against Gilbert Burns, and I mean, we really saw that there was no taking Gilbert down really, or like it's just there's not really a vulnerability to exploit there on the ground as there is with most fighters, and yeah, Gilbert was able to spark him and put him out on the feet. I don't think Belal Muhammad has the same finishing potential as Gilbert Burns, just because they don't really strike the same. Burns kind of throws everything into it, and Muhammad's more of a volume. He throws lots of hooks. He has a good jab, but he doesn't really throw straights. He throws lots of good left hooks, and his right hand it's a lot like the wrestler's overhand. A little more refined and less head whippy, but he's more of he throws more volume strikes. He doesn't really hit crazy hard with everyone, but he puts on pressure. He like wilts people with his cardio. Yeah, doing like I think his best is when he is able to do a mixed approach of like pressuring a tired opponent to the cage, and the threat of him either shooting in on them or just, you know, softening them up even more at the hands. That's where he's like most dangerous. I think the ground game offensively for him won't be really something he's going to go to against Damian Maia. So it will be kind of interesting to see how well he does just on the merits of his striking alone. I think his striking will be good enough to handle Damian Maia, but it will just be interesting to see, because I think that's a big part of Muhammad's game plan, or not game plan, but what makes him good, which is that like his high gas tank. He can wilt people. A lot of that wilting comes from, you know, tiring out, defending against takedowns and stuff, as well as like getting drowned in strikes. And if he's only throwing strikes, I feel like his ability to tire out Maia isn't there as much. I do see him defending takedowns. I mean, I could also see Damian Maia getting Belal down, but I think it's going to be one of those things where it's like he's probably going to go for it a little too desperately, and I don't think Muhammad's going to get taken by these obvious takedowns. You know, a desperate takedown, like, because Maia's not able to do much on the feet with him. But I think this will be a compelling matchup. I mean, Maia's a bit long in the tooth, you know, but he still is dangerous and he still poses threats. It's kind of a bummer of a fight, really, for Muhammad, because if he wins, it's kind of like, you know, people are gonna be like, well, you just beat an old guy. But if you really know, it's like Maia is quite threatening, and even if you have the skills to do what you need to do, which is really like, you know, if you're a good striker, you know, with the ability to not get taken down. But it's not that easy, because I mean, the guy still gets wins. He's got like 28 wins. You know, he's He's good at what he does, and he's a crafty veteran. It's not necessarily always super athletic or impressive physically what he's doing, but he's very savvy with his movements and efficient. And I think this is a low key tougher fight than it may look at first glance. I probably will take Muhammad like 60-40 on this one, just because he's the younger fighter. He's on kind of a I wouldn't necessarily say a tear, but he's on a win streak. He's been putting things together, stringing things together. He looked good in his fight against Diego Lima. It's hard to say how the Edwards fight would have went, because it's the rounds we did see are the rounds that Edwards would be doing good in. The first rounds, it's like Bilal's not necessarily explosive and fast. He's more like wilts people over time. I still think Edwards probably would have won that fight because of he's got really good clinch work and anti-takedown defense. But you can't write it off just because it ended too quickly. You never know. He could have tired out. That's really the thing I would have been interested to see, is how the cardio held up over 3 rounds. Or 5 rounds, I think, is the main event. So, but this will be good for him to get maybe get another dub in the column. And we'll see if Maia's still able to do what he does and keep taking out these young bucks who maybe overlook him a little. Yeah, this will be a good fight. Good fight. Moving on. Now we're on the third fight of the night. And this one is really where the stuff starts getting real good. And we got Edwards and Diaz. This is going to be, it's unfortunate. I do know why Diaz chose this fight. Because, he likes fighting real fighters, tough dudes, But Edwards is his game plan and the style of fighting is very, it really is like the thing he does is like he does things that Nate Diaz does well, like in the clinch, but he's just stronger. I think a little more deadly in that range, whereas Diaz is slower to work in there, kind of puts the head underneath gets the head pin under the chin, like tearing into the body, against the fence. That's kind of what he does more from the clinch, as well as like, working hooks around the side. It's more of like the volume, like wilting, softening you up. Whereas Edwards is very quick to grab a tie plum or clinch, get his like over under whatever, and then turn and angle out and throw elbows. And he's very good at like doing that. And he does it very often. He's very good at just very quickly. It's just like reaction. I think that what he does in the clinch will give Diaz issues. If Diaz just gets into the clinch, and then Edwards, I can very much see Edwards just grabbing, tie plum, angling out, boom, elbow, just like the Gunnar Nelson fight. It's not saying they're similar fighters, Nelson and Diaz, but just to showcase what I'm talking about. If you watch that fight, you'll see him doing it repeatedly. That's where he gets like probably the biggest moment of the fight, where he drops Nelson in, I think, like the second round or something, like fucked his orbital bone up. But that was due to those elbows, and that's a part of his game plan. That, as well as like he throws good knees out of the clinch as well. And he's just the more physically strong guy of the two. So especially in those first rounds, while Edwards is strong and fresh, I don't know how his cardio will hold up over, it's only a 3-round fight, so he's only got 3 to go. Yeah, with it a 3-round fight, that makes it even more edged in Edwards' favor. It's like the only things really could be Diaz getting it as like the fight goes later, is how I see it, I could see him wilting. That's what he does best, wilts people. But he's only got 3 rounds to wilt someone, and he's older, and he's, it's just, this is a tough fight. And Edwards is not, he's not afraid of a slower, more methodical pace. He's not dead driven for a finish, and gonna put himself in like bad positions. He's a very methodical, smart fighter. So I don't see him putting himself in bad positions that much. I mean, the only things I could see really happening that would cause issues for Edwards would be sometimes he will take wrestling exchanges that he doesn't necessarily need to do. He will engage in wrestling with somebody who is maybe has a higher pedigree of submissions or wrestling or jiu-jitsu or whatever. It feels almost like to prove a point. It's like, oh, I can do this, and I can do this, but it's like his best work is on the feet. I think he is a good he's a good position based grappler, and he's good at controlling and being smart and defensive. But it's one of those things where it's like, why would you do that if you it's like a grappler who's it's like the Ortega thing where he's such a good jiu-jitsu submission artist, and then this is before the Ortega 2.0, but then he was only like boxing people, and it's like, bruh, obviously you can box, but you know what you're really good at and what what you can do that others can't do, which is like you should do that more, and rely on the boxing way less. And that's where I feel like sometimes Edwards he'll like get into wrestling or exchanges, or maybe he would like I could see him maybe like getting into knocking Diaz down. Diaz is on his back, then maybe he gets into his guard. It's like wants to I don't know, prove that he can like hang in the guard and maybe finish him from, I don't know, but like those moments are more ill-advised. Like I feel like there's a couple moments I've seen in his fights, like in the Gunnar Nelson fight again, I think it's like in the first or second round, he keeps choosing to wrestle with Nelson, and he's having success, but it's like, why would you do that if you're winning on the feet? I mean, maybe it also is one of those things where it's like kind of taking him off guard, so I get it. And I think there is benefit to that, but like that should be your secondary, or you know what I mean? Like the primary focus should still be whatever you're most proficient at, but far be it from me to tell a professional fighter how to do their thing. But I could see that playing out as an issue for him if he does choose to like do something like that and wants to like maybe go into an engagement that is more ill-advised, where he's less advantageous, and giving like Diaz a bit more. Because if he stays at what he's good at, which he plays well at like a distance fighting on the feet, and then also getting into the clinch and being very punishing very quickly and like breaking out again, getting back out, I see Diaz having a tough time. But if he does do some ill-advised things, maybe he does accept ground with Diaz and lets him like Diaz start working for some submissions, or I could see him, doing something like that. But I don't know. I think this is gonna be a tough fight for Diaz, a tough one for him to take the dub on. Edwards is looking real sharp. What we saw in the Bilal fight, he looked really good. This will be a really good fight. I mean, hopefully it at least goes a round or two, and then we can see some folds of each other's game. More of Edwards, because I haven't seen him fight in so long. And I really want to see, if it gets to round 3, that'd be sweet. You can really see stuff, really learn stuff about him. But this is going to be a slapper. I probably roll like 65-35 if we're giving percentages on who wins, towards Edwards on this one. Yeah, this will be a good one. Let's move on. We're getting to the final 2. All right. We got these next 2 are rematches, both of them. We got Figueiredo and Moreno coming up first, and then we'll talk about Adesanya Vettori after that. Figueiredo Moreno 2. I think this is going to be a very interesting fight. Hopefully as entertaining as the first one. That first one was like a fight of the year contender. These guys were just... Moreno is the less physically imposing of the two. I mean, Figueiredo like cuts from like 165 or something ridiculous. Like the dude is gigantic for the weight class. But Moreno is tough as fucking nails. he's got fast combinations, good hands, and that's where he caught Figueiredo lacking, was in some of those middle rounds as he started to slow, and that explosiveness and quick reaction time was lessened. You could see Moreno starting to put some of those combinations together, and like particularly there was one moment where Figueiredo kind of leans forward, kind of like with his head out there, kind of baiting Moreno do something, and Moreno like throws like a quick 3-piece and like dinks him all the way and gets Figueiredo stumbling. And he was just so quick. He hit all these punches before Figueiredo was able to respond. He's got good head movement and slips. Both of these guys do. Figueiredo's more likes to counter more. I feel like, and he's a bit more plodding with his movement, and he's more of like a sniper in his strike choice. He doesn't really throw combinations as much. Maybe like a 1-2, maybe 2-punch combination at most. But like, it's kind of like he looks for a hole and like explodes through it with a powerful strike. And he's very accurate usually and very good at timing when to throw. And he has good left and right hook flurries in close, just throwing big bombs when people get up in close. And the other thing I love watching every time Figueiredo fights is this guy, every time he gets on his back and anyone tries to get on top of him, he just has the most explosive butterfly guard, and he flings people over his head, and just this like knee shielding and using his shins on the inside of their legs as they get on or try to, mount him. And there's no mounting. He's so good at just getting back up and exploding. It's really quite fun to watch. I think how this fight is kind of hard to say how this one will play out, because both had moments of success, and it's hard to say what things they will do differently. But I mean, I think for Moreno to get the win, the combination strike, it'd be really like try to tire him out those first rounds or two, and then putting those combinations to work. And obviously these things are all easier said than done, but that's where those later rounds in the middle and near the end, when Moreno was on the inside, when he would be first with his combinations, he would overwhelm and quite often like put Figueiredo in a bad place. I mean, it's hard to tell because Figueiredo has quite a good poker face, but that those takedowns, I think the takedowns and forcing him to do those explosive get-ups that Figueiredo loves to do, and they're quite fun to watch, they will sap his energy and make him tired, I did see in the pre-fight like embedded things that Figueiredo was his camp, this could be like all nonsense, but his camp was talking about how they wanted to get back to his submission and grappling. So we'll see how that is. He is a really good grappler. He has good submissions. But we'll see. I think Moreno putting early rounds, ducking in on takedowns, forcing Figueiredo to either explode up, just tire him out. You don't want to. And those first 2 rounds are really going to be where Figueiredo is the most dangerous with those punches. He's very fast, very explosive. He's going to be hitting his hardest then. I mean, Moreno's got a chin on him, and the guy doesn't really weight cut super heavy, and like he doesn't look like he would be chin compromised, and I haven't seen him like really wobbly yet, and the dude has no quit in him. But this will be a very interesting one to play out. I mean, this one again, I feel like I gotta just like, it's like a pick 'em. I don't really know who to choose. It was so close in the last fight. I mean, if Figueiredo gets the better of like ground exchanges, I could see that playing a big factor in the fight. If like maybe the first round Moreno, like Figueiredo does his normal thing, just gets right in your face, putting heavy pressure, looking for the big left straight that he likes. I think that if Moreno like ducked in on one of them trying to relieve some pressure, if he's able to like either, threaten him with submissions in a way where he like wants to get out and get away, or something like that where he's just like, he's feeling like, oh, I don't have any answers, like that could play good. But I mean, as the fight goes on, I want to favor. I feel like I'll favor Moreno because the cardio on that guy is crazy. He's got such nice tight short hooks too as well. Like, so on these inside engagements when they do trade, even though Figueiredo hits harder, he's not always there first because his strikes aren't as tight and short. I think more kicks too from Figueiredo could benefit him quite a bit, making it less of that just boxing match with Moreno, because Moreno seems to be a superior boxer technically. And we even saw in the last fight at the end when Figueiredo, I think he hurt. I don't know if he broke his arm or something, but it definitely did something to where it caused a pretty noticeable hematoma on his arm just from launching these kicks. And I think it's partly almost the way Moreno keeps his hands so locked in tight to his chest, to his body, like just punishing with round kicks to the chest would be fantastic plan. Those arms are gonna be there for it, and even if you're blocking with your arms, it still saps a lot of your muscles and your it doesn't feel good either. You know, you get kicked hard enough, it'll just, you know, shut your arm off, hit that funny bone, you know. I think that, I don't know, this is gonna be a very fun one. I'm probably, I don't know. This truly is like a pick 'em 50-50 for me, since it was so close last time and both guys have things that they could do to hurt each other. I mean, Figueiredo's always got that one punch knockout that he can do, but I don't see Moreno really getting one punch knockout, and I see him, you know, making it to the later rounds and, you know, get the rounds where his gas tank will really make a difference. And we are on to the main event now. We got Adesanya Vettori 2, the fight that nobody wanted. No, it shouldn't be that bad of a fight. I would have rather seen the Whitaker fight, and that's who should have been fighting, but this one's not horrible. Vettori, his last win was over Kevin Holland, which was a bit of a sad fight because it's one of those ones where it's like Holland was putting in work on the feet, and it's like, well, he could obviously maybe finish it or give Vettori issues here, and then he just was like, no distance management, was just like falling into these double legs and single legs that Vettori was doing, just nonstop getting put on the ground, couldn't get up. It was brutal. Since their last fight together, I think Adesanya has grown a bit more in what he does. And when I watched the first fight and then watched Adesanya's most recent fight, and one of the things that really stuck out to me was how much snappier and quick he is. He's much more. He's very like focused. It's the only thing I can say. Focused, and he sticks to a game plan very well. Like when I was watching the Costa fight, is immediately he gets out there and, you know, gets to the game plan, which is he's throwing jabs and slamming low kicks into his leg. You know, just keeping distance, prod at him, getting like reactions, downloading the data, stay safe. You know, but the quickness that he gets to his game plan and starts just doing what he wants to do, which is low kicking, landing jabs. Like, it's not really he gets to it quickly, and he's just I don't know, it's just really snappier, faster. Like, just the difference in the speed that he's throwing stuff in, it looked more relaxed their first fight, and his first fights in the UFC is more of a relaxed striker. He just kind of flowed, but here he's more of like, he still has that relaxed and composure, but he throws these like whipping quick. I don't know. It seemed just took me off guard. I don't know. Where Vettori has also grown. He's still pretty similar to what he does, and what he does is a good thing. His kit, you know, he's got a solid left hand that he just throws. He throws, and it's best when he throws it light and he's just touching with it. That's his best punch on the feet. He really actually catches quite a few people. He just throws it very tight and it's very fast, and he just goes to touch with it. He'll lead with it often. He'll just throw like a lead left. But I don't see that punch landing on Adesanya much just because of the length difference of the two, and Adesanya's got very good range management, and especially against these smaller guys. The feints, I think, will really cause Vettori some issues. I don't know. I mean, yeah, this fight I think it's gonna be an Adesanya win again. That's gonna be my prediction. People may think that obviously there is a hole in Adesanya's game plan, which is the like the ground game, and but it's not as easy to exploit that hole. And it seemed so easy because the John Blachowicz fight, but yeah, John Blachowicz is one. He was very competitive on the feet with Adesanya, So Adesanya is not just in like complete control on the feet. It was a very competitive fight, and he was getting outstruck on the feet. So he's already worried about the striking. He's not even just winning in the striking, right? He's like, he needs to focus a lot on that, and then this guy's much bigger. He just gets on, he gets these takedowns now that Adesanya he's worried about, just winning the striking fight, and then the takedowns come in. I mean, against a lot of these middleweights, there's no one really besides like Kevin Holland who has anywhere near the length and height of Adesanya. And yeah, like the takedowns can come in, but they're a lot easier when you're competitive on the feet, and there's just the length that he has and his skill differential. He's an extremely talented kickboxer. I think that will cause problems for Vettori, as it causes problems with all these middleweights who try to take him. It's not as simple as just like take Adesanya down. Vettori was able to do it in their first fight. He didn't really get too much done with it, but he did. He got a takedown. I think Adesanya got up. He Matt returned him, and then Adesanya slowly got back up against the fence again, and I think that was it. I mean, if he can manage to do that, which is a lofty task, he probably will win the fight. I haven't seen anything that would suggest Adesanya is all that threatening off his back. He hasn't really shown any. He doesn't really, like, I don't know. I've heard that the pinnacle of having a good guard is a mix between sweeps, get-ups, and submissions. And as you mix between the three of those, the best people's guards do tend to do that. It's a mix between submitting. Oh, I'm getting up now. Oh, you want to keep me here while I'm going? I'm going to try omoplata. I'm going to try a triangle. Switch off to the arm bar. Oh, now I'm getting up again. I'm trying to sweep it. Those are the most tough guards, and I haven't seen anything from Adesanya that would suggest that he would do anything like that. So I think Vettori would win if he can do that, but it's like, that's a tough ask. It's hard to get close enough to the guy without getting, without walking into some sniper shot. And this is a 5-round fight, which is different than their other fight. Both of these guys have gas tanks. I mean, Vettori is the more muscly man, and he can slow, but he's got a pretty good gas tank. I think it's probably going to be Adesanya on this one. I mean, the caliber of competition, the difference that they have fought, Vettori's been fighting. He hasn't been fighting horrible people or anything, but he's been fighting up and comers and the best of the middle of the division, which there are some tough guys. Like the Hermansson fight was a great fight. It's a legit tough win. The Holland fight was not as a good win, in my opinion, just based on his performance. It was a bit more like, I don't know. Yeah, it was just like a lot of laying on the top, not doing that much. Not saying this to be like, oh, Kevin Holland should have won. Like, he needs to learn how to defend his takedowns. But also, if you are getting takedowns on somebody nonstop like this, do some fucking damage, please. Don't just make this the most boring fucking fight. But also, I get it. Get your bag. get your bag. You get paid more if you win. So, but Adesanya's been fighting Whitaker, Costa. He's been fighting the best of the division. I don't think that. Yeah, I think that this fight might even play a little differently. I think like the uncomfortableness on the feet for Vettori is going to come much quicker than it did last time. Like around the second round in their first fight, you could start to tell he was like kind of in headlights. Like, oh, this guy is just throwing feints. He's too quick. I don't know what to do. But I think that will happen faster. I would like for Vettori to do good. I like to see him just shooting takedown right away. At least just getting Adesanya to like work and think about it. Then you can maybe fake takedown, do an overhand or something. Because I don't think in a purely striking format, Vettori is going to find that much success. But these are going to be this is going to be good fights. These last two fights. There's actually quite a good ones on the prelims as well. I'll be doing a prelim breakdown video as well. But yeah, that's all I got for today. I hope you guys enjoy the fights. It's Saturday. I will be trying to get these things out a bit earlier. Had a vacation push me behind schedule, but we're back on track. Expect things to be shaking and moving. Keep evolving and adapting. But yep. Thanks for tuning in.